Hello everyone, I'm Greg Weaver. Welcome to the Audio Analyst. Pardon me. If there was any ever doubt that I'm a wild proponent of the LP format, let me dispel any questions about that right here and now. In the early days of compact disc, circa 1982, I designed a standard which all of my like-minded audio buddies could proudly emblazon on a t-shirt or a jacket that showed just how we felt. It was in the form of a Linn LP12 turntable with the tone arm cocked as though flexing its bicep, stomping down with a characterized foot on a CD player. Sprawling above this graphic image were only the words, "Death before digital." I admit that was a hard line. And honestly, the first CD player I owned that offered a true glimmer of hope for the Red Book CD format was the Luxman D105U in 1989. Utilizing a pair of 6 CG7 output tubes, the D105U was one of the first players I heard that began to musically tame that era's all too prevalent digital edge and offer any form of an engaging glimpse into the musical event. And I'll admit to a further softening of this stance, especially over the past decade or so, as I crossed over further into the dark side, but only because of the advances in our ability to reconstruct digital files into music, be they stored on optical or magnetic media or streamed over the internet. There's no doubt about it, digital has gotten much, much better from the early days. In fact, last week's examination of the Mola Mola Tambaki DAC is testament to that fact. But I still am accosted by sentiments such as, why would you bother with vinyl today? Or, oh, those old things. Well, guys, I'm here to share with you a variety of extremely good reasons why you should consider buying, collecting, and listening to those old things. Now, don't panic. I'm not about to try to carry this contention solely on the weight of the understanding that vinyl playback, all things being equal, still sounds superior to digital. Rather, I'll explain why vinyl offers, in most circumstances, the most cost-effective method for collecting and listening to recorded music. Now, streaming is different. You don't own that content. We are talking about collecting and owning music here, so let's not confuse these two entirely different forms of music consumption, okay? Now, though I feel the sound quality issue is, in and of itself, a valid enough reason to listen to records, they simply offer more overall musical authenticity. It is by no means the only reason to buy and collect music on vinyl. Now, if you don't own a turntable yet, or if you would like to upgrade from the one you have now, the climate has never been better, gang. And according to Statista, which is an online German statistical analysis group, turntable sales have been rising steadily since 2012, with over 72,000 turntables purchased in the US in 2019. That's an amazing number. You can pick up a competent new table with a cartridge for under $500 from the likes of Denon, ELAC, Fluence, NAD, Project, Yamaha, U-Turn, or perhaps my favorite, Music Hall. And I'll admit I have a soft spot in my heart for the Music Hall tables. I've reviewed 4 different models, the MMF2, 5, 7, and 9.3 over the past 2+ decades. Now, one of the easiest ways to win at the diminishing returns game is to turn to the used market. A friend of mine picked up a turntable that retails for $1,000 at a thrift shop for $40. Another friend picked up a $450 table with a $250 specialty arm already mounted at a pawn shop for the same money. And guys, with sources like eBay, AudioGarn, Craigslist, even Amazon has a used turntables listing. You never know what you'll stumble across. Now, granted, Taking advantage of the used market means you should have some degree of knowledge about things analog, or you should enlist the help of an experienced friend who does. Um, Typically, the more you can budget for such a purchase, the closer to musical nirvana you'll get. But it's really important to understand that you don't have to pony up huge dollars to get started. Uh, Quite honestly, aside from preferring the warmer, more full-bodied, and more authentic sound of the LP format, I feel vinyl offers better value for collecting and experiencing music outright, given three very simple conditions. First, the types of music you listen to must be available on vinyl. Next, you need to have access to used vinyl. There are many outlets out there, many of which you may never have given any thought. And finally, to really enjoy the LP medium, you absolutely must have some kind of deep cleaning system, like a vacuum-powered deep cleaning device or a newer ultrasonic model. Now, given those three conditions, vinyl easily becomes the preferred method of collecting as well as listening to music. Now, assuming that the first condition is met, let's look at the other two a little more closely. Now, today, most people perceive their old records as valueless. So, knowing where to look and what to look for is key. As to the where, searching yard and garage sales, estate sales, pawn shops, flea markets, and thrift stores like those operated by the Salvation Army and Goodwill are really great options. And don't forget about your local record store if you're fortunate enough to have one. And one of my real favorites is the Regional Record Show, like the one I attended in South Bend just last weekend. More on that in a moment. After Kim and I moved to our current home, one of my trips to the local building supply store, I spotted a Goodwill store nestled away back off the road that I'd never noticed before. I thought, what the hell? I'll run in and rifle through their LPs and see what they have. I'm glad I did. A 15-minute search revealed a 1959 Columbia Masterworks Gershwin Rhapsody in Blue, An American Imperative by the New York Philharmonic under Leonard Bernstein, a 1972 Bruckner Symphony No. 9 in D minor by the New Philharmonia Orchestra under Otto Klemperer, and the Pièce de Résistance, the superbly regarded 1972 Decca Gatefold 2 LP set, CSP 8, of Beethoven Symphony 9 by the Chicago Symphony Orchestra under Sir George Solti, the very version of the ninth I explore here at the Audio Analyst in episode 2. Now, here's the real kicker, guys. I paid a whopping 29 cents each. All three titles, tax included, set me back 93 cents. Are you kidding me? The Beethoven alone is worth... Anyway. I once found a sealed 1979 Mobile Fidelity half-speed remaster of the 1979 Fleetwood Mac album at a pawn shop for $1. At a recent yard sale near my home, I found 15 mid-70s Deutsche Grammophones and London FFRRs, all of which I bought for just $5. Now, judging from the way they look and sound, I don't think any of them had ever been played. The point is, don't overlook your options. You really never know what you'll stumble across. Now, one of the big concerns when snagging up used vinyl is that not all pressings of the same record are created equally. This is where knowing what you are looking for comes into play. Now, typically, the closer to the first generation the record is, the more likely it will have a chance of sounding good. One nice thing about all records is that their individual pedigree lies in the stamped or etched runout groove area. These alphanumeric codes, called matrix or stamper numbers, can tell the knowledgeable vinyl adherent everything he needs to know about that particular pressing. And here again, the climate for identifying pressings has never been better. Just install Discogs on your smartphone, and you are armed with one of the most incredibly powerful and portable tools available for identifying LP pressings. It's great. Now, it's true, The more you educate yourself about this information that you can glean from those matrix numbers, the better armed you will be and more able you will be to likely pick better sounding pressings. There are many articles on the web discussing these codes, some of which are much more useful than others, but I highly recommend you take some time to brush up on this subject. I've put some links at the end of in the comments section underneath the video that may help. Understanding these matrix numbers will yield much more satisfying purchases long term. Now, the other real issue with buying used vinyl is determining the play quality. And while most every LP for sale on eBay is graded by the seller, most used outlets don't grade their wares, and many only grade visually, meaning they just look at the LP and don't listen to it or play grade it. Now, this can really be a crapshoot, because I've seen LPs with highly shiny surfaces that look unplayed that were, well, unlistenable because of surface noise and other damage. By the same token, I've seen records that looked really marginalized that, after a cleaning, played as mint minus. And guys, this is one area where you pays your money and you takes your chances, as the old adage goes, but it's worth it. And while not typically as cost effective, don't forget the places that sell new vinyl, both walk-in retail stores and mail order houses. Honestly, some recordings will not be available anywhere else. Some of the best deals on new and reissued vinyl are often offered by mail order. So get on the mailing list of places like Acoustic Sounds, Classic Records, and Music Direct. There are many more, but those are three big ones. Now, I'm also not saying that there are always great deals available on new releases or the reissues that are coming out today. But be sure to ask about discounts for volume purchases, for clearance items, or closeout products. It can be very worthwhile, guys. I once picked up 6 of the killer 180-gram classics reissues of the RCA Shaded Dogs, so-called because the RCA dog nipper sits in an oval field of maroon on an otherwise red label. Okay. Now, these are highly sought out by collectors, with the originals fetching several hundreds of dollars or more each. Now, the reissues list for about $30 a pop, a few going a bit higher at $45. Now, that means I should have expected to pay at least $180 for those 6 I wanted. Guess what? I got them for $10 each, just $60 for the entire half dozen. All brand new, first quality, and still sealed. How did I manage it? Simple. I waited for the mail order company to reduce them by putting them on a closeout special. Many of the reissues coming out today have limited distribution rights. So when these rights are due to expire and revert to the original owners, dealers will sell everything they have on hand at or near cost rather than destroy them and lose everything. So keep your eyes open for these kinds of specials. And when you don't see them advertised, don't be afraid to ask. It's your money. This brings us finally to record shows. Let's take a listen to what Jeremy Bonfiglio, the current owner and organizer of the South Bend Record Show, which had its first post-COVID-19 meeting just this past Sunday, August 2nd, had to say about this show.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Bonfiglio. I am the owner and organizer of the South Bend Record Show. So with COVID-19 and the pandemic, we are taking extra precautions at record shows now. We are requiring everybody to wear one of these face masks. We also have asked people to sanitize their hands frequently. We have hand sanitizing stations here, and to social distance. We're in a very large room, 9,000 square feet. We average about 200 to 400 people during a course of 6 hours.
Guys, there really is nothing else quite like a record show. You almost always learn something new about recordings and records, and the camaraderie, even with us all wearing PPE and social distancing last week, can be so engaging. I gotta tell you, if you're passionate about your music, You will discover these events to be a wonderful way to broaden and deepen that passion. Just by way of example, here are a few deals I snagged at last weekend's event. I found this original 1972 US Blue Note, Chick Corea's The Song of Singing, for $8. Now, while I'm not the biggest post-bop avant-garde jazz fan, man, does this LP sound fantastic. I picked up another copy of the original 1986 GRP Electric Band for $6. I love this record. I mean, we used it for demo so heavily in the 80s. I sold so many speakers and amplifiers with this recording from GRP. I scored a fairly hard to find original US 1980 Sheffield Labs direct-to-disc box of Lincoln Mayorga, Amanda McBroom's Growing Up in Hollywood Town for $9. You gotta hear this thing. It's fabulous. I picked up another original US 1990 Alligator copy of Harp Attack, which features Carrie Bell, Billy Branch, James Cotton, and Junior Wells, all kicking it on the same LP for $6. I buy these every time I find them and give them away. They're great records and they're so affordable. One of the best picks of the show, I found an original 1976 Canadian Gatefold Mercury of Rush's 2112 for $30. Mint minus doesn't begin to describe it. This thing is fabulous, guys. One of the best deals I found was an original 1971 US Pink Label Capricorn double LP of the Allman Brothers at Fillmore East for $24. Guys, I've seen this LP in mint minus condition selling for $125 to $175 on Discogs. $24. Unbelievable. I got a sealed 2014 US Atlantic remaster done by Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin II for $30. It's the closest I've heard to the original 1979 US Atlantic Robert Ludwig high mix version, copies of which have sold for close to $1,000 if you can find one, okay? Moving to classical, I found a 1978 Mobile Fidelity half-speed remaster of the 1973 Angel, a Tchaikovsky Spectacular by the London Symphony Orchestra under Andre Previn for $10. But I grabbed a 1972 US London FFRR 3 LP box set of the 4 Rachmaninoff piano concertos, the Rock 3, oh my God, with a side of Rhapsody on a Theme of Paganini in pristine condition for $7. What a day. This event was, guys, it was a well-needed and well-deserved diversionary break for me with all the stay-at-home and shelter-in-place stuff, as it was for most everyone I spoke with there last Sunday. You know, especially in these troubled and trying times, even with limited access, wearing PPE and following social distancing guidelines, on top of finding wonderful music, you will have fun at a record show. Meeting new friends with similar passions, some of whom may be able to broaden your horizons, and some whom you may be lucky enough to tutor. So, next week I'll conclude this topic by talking about how to care for your vinyl collection, and I'll delve into a little more detail about the differences I hear between LP playback versus digital playback of any stripe. I'd like to remind everyone that all of my videos and links to virtually everything I've ever had published on the web, going back to the mid-1990s, as well as much of my printed material, is available at the Audio Analyst website. I've added a link to the site down below in the comments section, so I hope you'll all check it out. Finally, please be sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying our conversations here. And please don't forget to share these videos with your friends if you're digging it. You can share them yourself. I'd enjoy that. I'd be grateful. Finally, thank you so much for dropping by today. It really means a lot to me that you're coming here and listening to these conversations. I'd like to say please stay safe to everyone and keep the music playing. Till next time, cheers.